to Miss Martin Muses. Welcome to Miss Martin Muses, where I think I have every single emotion with everything that goes with my title and my little slogan. Talk about what makes me laugh, makes me cry, makes me happy, makes me sad, and just really ticks me off. I've been in a weird place. I have had quite possibly the worst month of my entire life, and every time I think it can't get worse, it does. Now, some of it is public. For example, what happened with the children, the targeted attack that we've been warning about for 3,000 million hours, days, and years. This stuff was going to escalate. I've been warning about it since the 90s. And finally, we're seeing targeted attacks against, of course, Christians, but definitely specifically the Catholic Church. I noticed it when I converted. I was like, wait, you can say this about people, then people will think we're like these weird psychos. This isn't true. How come people are saying this and they're getting away with it? And then the first time I was called a Yahtzee was 2002 because of what I believe. And I'm like, that's actually not what the Yahtzees believed. And then this big, long, convoluted reason about why. So this is not new, this whole phenomenon. And it escalated, got worse when during 2020, the Summer of Love, they were attacking everyone but apparently the people that were responsible. I mean, I'm not going to go into the incident that sparked the Summer of Love. That is very public, but one could argue things were taken care of then, but why did they go out and attack people that had absolutely nothing to do with it? Specifically, they were targeting Catholics. Now, a lot of people will what about me and like you're attacking this, attacking that, attacking that. And I'm very well aware of that. And I'm glad that people brought it up, and everyone has their own job to bring things up that are in their sphere. But this is a pattern that I was seeing. And it was really bad. It was worse than we'd ever seen. It was reminiscent of the French Revolution, because we've been there and we've done that. And then 2022, with the leak of the decision, it got worse and worse. And I'm like, this is scary. And it seems like no one was reporting it. It's like, oh my gosh, what is wrong with you people? Don't you see it's getting worse and the rhetoric is getting worse and they're just looking the other way? The administration, we were put, if you go to the Latin Mass, we were put on like a watch list. It was really wild. And I just kept telling everyone around me, it's getting worse, getting worse. Now, around this time, my folks said, I remember when you were telling us this back when you were in college, back in the 90s, and we didn't believe you. Now we do, because I said it was going to escalate. And often it's just natural that you don't see what's not part of your quote unquote tribe. And of course, in the Protestant communities, they're now dealing with it. They're just a little bit behind us. So the shooting that happened with those children, it escalated even more, and it was targeted, and it was, for lack of a word, mnemonic. Something rhymes with that. So there was that. Then there was personal stuff, which I can't talk about, but 2 huge personal tragedies in people around me. And then I'm thinking, okay, I can finally start decompressing all this stuff. And then the thing happened with Charlie Kirk. And the reason why I haven't really gone live about it, I did on my Catholic channel. I do see you all. I'll acknowledge you in a second. I just couldn't deal. I was so full of rage, all full of this depression. I would almost call it PTSD, but I knew it wasn't, because I know PTSD is something very specific. I was taught it's actually called like a stress response, like PTSD, but it's not like PTSD where it's like a whole other different ballgame. And I just went and prayed a rosary on my Catholic channel. That was all I could do. And I just remember thinking, thank goodness I have rituals. You can like dial a ritual for if you're a Catholic. We have something for everything. And of course, when I got the really bad news that I got before the Charlie Kirk incident, I just said, I can't deal. Just told my friends I was going to do some things with my friends. Can't deal. And I went right to the Blessed Sacrament Chapel and just sat there for like 2 hours. I'm not saying I got any answers, but I just had to do that to deal. And then we have this horror. And it is horror. The reason why I chose this as a topic was I think this gets to the root of what we are seeing and what the problem is and maybe what a solution can be. But holy crud, if you want to see the future, become a historian. I hate being a historian because I see the future. Study the French Revolution. We've been there. We've done that. Very similar. Very, very similar. But sometimes I wish I hadn't been a historian. That's what I told somebody in the midst of all this because I saw it happen before it did. We all did. We all warned about it. Charlie Kirk warned about it. And then it happened. And it was like a big "I told you so." And then the gaslighting, that was just driving me nuts, the gaslighting. And okay, yes, we can go through the subtleties of it was gamer stuff, whatever, but you know what he was doing, and we all know what he was doing. And so what if it was a gamer meme? It was a gamer meme that it was just they were muddying the waters and they kept changing the narratives and changing it and both sidesing us. All right, let me get to the comments here before I go crazy. It is Rachel Percy Art Evening, Miss Martin. Thank you for being here. Thank you, Norporeal Lifeform. Hello. Why is Steeg Kenobi? Hello, Steeg. Whoops. Hello, Teresa. I am here to escalate. Well, thank you, Steeg. That's just great. Hi, everyone's saying hello to each other. Hi, Rachel. This horrified me. Yeah, this is real horror. And part of the theme I got this from was what somebody said to Stephen King, because I have been saying this from, well, the time I first started paying attention to it, 1995. This is what they're doing. They were patient, very patient. Deflection, deny, gaslight. Is it really that bad? Both sides do it, blah, 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 blah. This is going to be a little incoherent. I want to warn y'all. Stephen Ransom, hello. Thank you. Thank you for being here. Thank you, everyone who is here. Always appreciate you being here. So let's go through the point I want to make. I know other people will make better points, but this is where I want to focus. Oh, but before we do, Norpoil wants something light. And I'll let you know I'm going to finish Winter's Heart this week. Well, good, because we need to do it. I'm ahead of you, but I did get behind. And shame on me for getting behind. Whoops, that's the wrong button. I will do better. I'm almost done with the book 11, but I'm actually thinking that I've been really reluctant, not just because of things happening, but I realize it'll be the last one fully written by Robert Jordan. Actually, let me put this up here so I can see y'all. These last few weeks have been too much. Yeah, it has. It really has. It really, really has. But this was pointed out yesterday at the memorial. I think it was Erica Kirk. What didn't happen? What didn't happen these last 11 days? We didn't have a summer of love. We didn't have mobs finding people and tearing them, limb from limb, or beating them up, or anything like that. Oh, yeah, someone told me, well, there's shootings in Chicago and stuff. It's like, yes, there is. And we're actually also the only ones talking about it. But a targeted assassination, all right? This was a public assassination, our first one since JFK. But it's like JFK happened, but the whole world saw it at the same time, right? It's been 60, more than 60 years since that. And one thing that struck me at the memorial, though he didn't talk about it, was RFK when he was speaking about the whole thing. You know that it was in the back of the mind. This happened to his father for different reasons, but his father was assassinated. And it reminds me of when I would see the footage of RFK making the speech, and he's like, on to Chicago, and he turns to go into the kitchen, and you're just sitting there yelling, no, because you know what's going to happen. That's how I felt with Charlie Kirk. But the difference was we all saw it happen. Now, the footage, the really gory footage of JFK didn't come out till way later. I only saw it like last year. All right. But we saw it. And how I saw it was my dad and I were on the phone like, oh my gosh, is he okay? And I said, I don't know. I saw a thing from far away. We all saw the shot from far away at first. That was when I saw. It's like, it didn't look like, I said, oh dear, but it might have been a kill shot. I couldn't tell. Did it go into his shoulder? Did it go into what? And then Steve had mentioned he had seen something. And then my dad's like, oh, your mom's listening to so-and-so. Here's his Twitter feed. And we both saw it at the same time, what we all saw. And I did. I went, Jesus, Mary, and Joseph. He's dead. And mom, who can't see really, I mean, she sees shadows and stuff, but she was just like, what are y'all seeing? And dad's like, yeah, he's dead. Horror. I can't even tell you how horrific it is because I liked Charlie Kirk. I would watch his videos. I watched his show a lot. I mean, I watched him a lot. I watched him with Jack Posobiec a lot. Good stuff. I would get annoyed with him. At the time of his passing, I had him muted because sometimes, just like everybody, he gets a little grifty or would make tweets, the kind of tweets I don't like that bring on engagement. I'm like, are you serious? Or are you just messing with us to get engagement? I didn't like it, so I had him muted. Okay, let me continue. Let's see what everyone else is saying here. The contemporary language being used to distort the living history of the event. The right didn't commit the violence the mainstream tried to predict. Exactly. I remember, maybe you remember, is anyone else old enough to remember when The Passion of the Christ came out and they were saying, oh no, the Catholics are going to go out and start beating up Jews? And I remember going, what? And like, well, when they see what happened to Jesus, and I'm like, what? They were wanting us to be 12th century, I don't know what, medieval people that, yeah, occasionally that kind of stuff would happen. But it's like, we all know how Jesus died. If you know anything about the liturgy during Good Friday, yeah, we know. It's like, it was just so much. They wanted us so bad to go beat up a bunch of people, and we didn't. The both sides argument is moot. One side is better than the other. Yeah. One side's definitely more tolerant of the other. I mean, true tolerance. Tolerance isn't agreeing. Tolerance is live and let live. They don't live and let live, obviously. No, we didn't, because contrary to popular belief, we value life. Yeah, that's the other thing. It makes me so mad when they say, well, if you're pro-life, why didn't you do this? It's like, we do, dumbasses. But you see, they can Google just as easily as us. They are willfully blind, and none are more willfully blind than those who cannot see. Oh, wait. Oh, they're talking to each other. Oh, yeah. Charles James Kirk. Yeah, it was really weird when the president said it, and I was like, wow. Whereas the left decided to celebrate it. Kudos to the Young Turks for condemning it. Yeah, barely anyone did. What I got was, well, it's not everybody. And I'm like, yeah. I was like, tell me, who was celebrating. And, they tried to talk about the lady hurt in, well, deleted in Minnesota or whatever. And it's like, where was the celebrations? And they found like one person, one idiot. And I'm just like, okay, one person. There will be the law will be ours. Stephen Timmermouth left the tweet mocking Kirk by saying Captain Kirk is the only Kirk that counts. Shatner condemned it. Yeah, Shatner has been magnificent in the midst of all this, hasn't he? Holy crud, yeah, we love our captain. But someone who's not, and kind of the title of this, and this is where the horror comes from, because of course the horror is what we saw. However, if you're a believer, I'm a believer. Charlie Kirk was a believer. If you were to bring him back from the dead and tell him, hey, dude, this is what happened, Charlie Kirk would think, awesome. A true believer dying like that, didn't know what hit him. And it struck me that he died right after he made a profession of faith. A lot of people don't get that. They're like, why do you call him a martyr and all that? And I'm like, oh my gosh, read the scriptures. If you believe, he made a profession of faith, essentially. He was talking a little bit, I think, about the LDS. Someone was getting him, I guess, to try to bash the LDS, and he wouldn't, because that was the kind of guy he was, even though we all know what he believed. I mean, he's an evangelical Protestant. His brand of Christianity is not mine. But we know what he believed, and he was honest, but he wasn't a dick about it to other people. And then he said like something to the effect of, I believe in Jesus Christ. He is the Lord. He died for my sins and he rose again and he's king of the universe or something. Boom. He was gone in a few seconds. That is a profession of faith. So when we say he gained the martyr's crown, yeah, he did. If you believe in that. If you don't believe in that, well, that's fine. They never said a thing about the rep from Minnesota before this, and now using her as a counter argument. Yeah. And you know what? Everyone condemned it. And everyone knew it was a lone nut. And Greg Gutfeld said a really magnificent thing. He said, you all weren't we weren't demonizing her day after day after day after day after day after day after day. And don't forget, this happened 2 weeks or 3 weeks, maybe. I think about 2 weeks after what happened to that Catholic school. Bernie left a milquetoast combination blaming Trump. Of course he did. Doesn't this make the markings of just that? Of a martyr? I think, yeah, Rachel, she was killed for not voting with the, well, yeah, there was a lot of crazy stuff going on there, but it's just not a both sides thing because nobody celebrated it. Yeah, even the guy that they used that was kind of unsympathetic to it, the senator from Utah or something. He didn't say anything as bad as what we're seeing here. Yeah, they're leaving it out. Hello, Archer Collin. Hello. The Aquarian age is upon us. The message on the support the martyr claim. Yes. Though I've been hearing, oh, it's just gamer stuff. It's like, okay. Does that change anything? Does that change anything? But for sure, the text messages, and here's the deal. They kept trying to gray the waters or muddy the waters with all that deflecting. And then it turned out that it was the texting. And so then it was like, there's no question now. There's no question now. And that's why what Jimmy Kimmel did was so heinous, because he knew, his writers knew by that point. We knew by that point. Now, we all know they were full of crap when they were pulling that stuff. And, sadly, people I know. And it was very frustrating. It made me depressed, actually. So, gee whiz. But we knew that. But there was no doubt once the text messages came out. Hello, everybody. Oh, yes, he did. Yes. But, he did. Yeah. We all know the facts about that. But even if so, even if it was a nut on the right, the difference is how you respond. And that's what I was trying to point out to an individual I was speaking with about this in person was, okay, fine. Maybe all that's true. Who was celebrating it? Who was celebrating it the way you see people celebrating the death of Charlie Kirk? Were you seeing representatives saying heinous things? Or do you see people of the caliber of Stephen King? Now, I know everyone thinks Stephen King is a dick and caliber, but let's just say objectively, he is a huge figure, considered mainstream. I mean, huge writer, very influential writer, best-selling writer. How many does he have following him? Millions and millions and millions. Did you see anyone of that level? Did you see Stephen King saying that about the lady from Minnesota? No, you did not. And we're going to get there. We're going to get there and why it's so horrific. Quite a lot of people have resigned from the human race. Stops being just gamer stuff when it's used to commit an well, yeah. And I get it. I'm just saying that I found that's a hard argument to use because I thought it's too easy for them to deflect it. When I do argue with people, I'm like, fine, I'll give you that. So it's a gamer quote. And as you said, and what about it? What with it? And we all know what it means. It doesn't matter about the current details. The messenger was taking his early success, ending his church. I'm not sure what you mean about the ending his church. Maybe that's a reference I don't know, because no church is ended. Like usual, would not take responsibility and blame. Yeah. And that's the whole thing that was horrifying about the whole situation. And that's why I've said it once, I've said it twice. Could the good Lord send an angel or something to knock our current administration in the head with a dose of prudence? Please? Please? Because that FCC idiot handed them a victory. All he had to do was shut his damn mouth. That he had to blab to give them, you see, it was, and of course, Pam Bonner. Can we fire her already? And yeah, Trump doesn't have an ounce of prudence in his body, but I guess we already knew that. But come on, people. It's like they see the high ground and they go, let's level it. Or an own goal in soccer. I chose not to see the long walk because of SK's rhetoric. He at least apologized. Yeah. Well, we're going to get into that. The left would not take. Yeah, I said that. Charlie was sacrificed. I see. Apologized about Kirk. Well, yeah. We're gonna go into that. Okay, yeah, I just don't get the reference, Steven. Because, like, I just don't get the reference. But, yes, he was a sacrifice, he was a martyr. The blood of the martyrs is the seed of the church or whatever. Or water, they're the seed, we're the water. I forget how it goes. Theologians help me out. I see it. Obi-Wan Kenobi White put it. They struck him down, having no idea how powerful he would become. Yeah, and Babylon B, who sometimes is on my crap list, they said it really well that Satan overplayed his hand. It's like, oops, because he can't help it. He can't help it. But let's go into Stephen King, what he said and why it matters. Here it is. And what he said was so heinous, so despicable that I had to blur it. And let me tell you why this matters. I might have to take these comments down because it kind of messes up the thing. He advocated something that rhymes with stone with an ing, people of the same, like the same sex, until they are deleted. Just saying. Now, what's the problem with this? It's not true. It's not true. It's not true. And it's also not true. You can't kill an idea with deletion. Okay, you're going in, even if it were true. But did he? Did he what? Yeah. All right. Oh, you mean Charlie Kirk? No, he did not. Of course he did not. And what strikes me is the fact that he even said it. People that know me, when they sometimes say, hey, this lefty said this, and it's really something outrageous. What's my first question? You all know this if you know me. Where and can you give me the primary source? It's not that I don't believe you, but if I don't see the primary source, I cannot believe it. Because if something sounds that crazy. Now, what's scary is often it is true, but sometimes it's not. Sometimes it's been debunked. Sometimes it's a rumor. Sometimes it's opinion. But the fact is, he actually believed this about Christians. He actually believed this about conservatives. He actually believes that people who have beliefs, and Charlie Kirk has even said a private belief or a personal belief, that, and he's often said he doesn't care what someone does in the privacy of their bedroom. I mean, he cares, but he doesn't care. Like, I have lots of personal beliefs that people would be like, oh my gosh, Teresa. I like to throw this out here, the belief I have about the second commandment. I follow the 10 commandments. Second commandment is you shall not take the Lord's name in vain. Can you imagine if I did things like this to people that took the Lord's name in vain? First of all, I don't think I would have any friends or any family members left, because I honestly think I'm the only one in my family and maybe 2 friends I have that don't regularly use the Lord's name in vain. And it's a similar thing. It's like, you're not going to beat him up. You're not going to do this. But the fact that he thought that, and the first thing that struck me was, no wonder they hate us. No wonder they're psycho. Because if you look at this, Stephen King, we all know he's a douchebag. But he is, for lack of a better word, an established, respected figure. He's saying that. So you're going to believe him. Let me see. But did he? Stephen King has gone from my favorite author to someone I don't even want on my shelf. Oh, yeah, I got rid of all of his book. Shameless, even if it were true. Wait, what? I don't get it. Yeah, this is the lack of self-awareness, says Archer Collin, in the left, taking Charlie's comments on empathy out of context and then showing zero empathy themselves. Oh, yeah, that too. Absolutely. I don't have it, but I've seen it debunked multiple times. The left lost me when they continue to make stuff about people with impunity and people believe it. Yeah. Well, and here's why some people believe it. Sometimes even my parents believe it. The boomer types. Well, they are boomers. It's because you really don't think someone would lie about this. Like, why would someone lie about this? You just don't lie about something like this. So it must be true. Hello, Subhuman. Good to see you. Stephen King has no moral high ground to stand on, Mr. Yeah. Though, President Company accepted, not for the cocaine, but hey, we all got issues, all right? But he is Jack Torrance. But yeah, he has no high ground. And we know he has no high ground. But he did not even look it up. And that's out there. And I remember thinking in horror, and that's why this is horror, it's like, no wonder they hate us so much. Is that what they really think? They really think this about us? Apparently so. Now, Dave Rubin. This is where I kind of stole the title of my of the stream from Dave Rubin. Now, Dave Rubin was gay. No, he is gay. Sorry. He is as gay can be. He's married to a man. Dave and has children apparently. Well, I don't know how he got the children, but I think they're through IVF. You know, things that obviously Charlie Kirk doesn't believe in. Now, here we go. Hey, Stephen King, you are more monstrous than any of the characters you ever came up with. That's what I'm saying, horror. This is real horror, what Stephen King did. Charlie was never anything but kind to me and my husband. We broke bread many times, and he never treated us with anything other than respect. He even came to our house long ago, and plot twist, didn't throw stones. And that's the same thing. And here's the deal. In our lifetimes, we have had to step out of our comfort zone, and I think that's fine. My parents' generation more so than us, but, you know, my parents have all done it, you know. When my parents were born, we still had legal segregation. And that included Catholics. Like, oh my gosh, my dad was so prejudiced against Catholics. And, you know, the irony, and then I became one. But, you know, things changed. Things changed in our lives because we changed. We got to know each other. We started to mingle. But, yeah, it was bad. And I'm not saying that the Catholics were any nicer to Protestants. I'm just saying it's just, you know, this is my experience. And now look at us, right? It's absurd. Though we still disagree theologically, we were, look at how much many prejudices. Like, we're expected to be tolerant. We're expected to go the extra mile, but they don't even have to lift a finger. Yet, dear Democrat fearmongers, they're constituents for years. Yeah, they want to take this away. They want to take that away. Yeah. Oh, and wasn't that awful what Barack Obama said? He did what he always does. He's so reasonable. He's like, well, I didn't agree with everything he said. You know, he was against the civil rights bill. And then everyone's like, racist. Even my dad was like, oh, well, you know, I disagree with Charlie on that. I'm like, oh my gosh, Dad. Oh, please. Watch the video. Watch what he said about that. And I'm not going to spoon feed anyone anymore. Google it. You know, I trust boomers. Boomers have an excuse. We don't. All right. The boomers could learn, and they are, but sometimes you just don't give an F when you're in your 80s. So, but that's what he did. It was very subtly, almost as bad, if not as bad, as what Stephen King did. And we all know that Dave Rubin was good friends with Charlie Kirk, and Charlie Kirk toured with him and all that. And so if he was that prejudiced, there is no way on the planet that he would have toured with him. My mom hates Republicans thanks to the mainstream in her own family. Yeah. I mean, civil war within our own families. It's really sad. The left are so good at taking things out of context, so they are technically true, but the effect is quite the opposite of the intent. Well, yes, they twist the words. Well, here's the deal. I'm not going to quite go there. I will just use an example from Scripture. Remember, Satan quoted to Jesus from the Scriptures. Nerdporial says, I started paying close attention to behavior over rhetoric. Darn right. That's why the media's information is out so outrageous. Yeah, and they accuse us of what we do, don't they? The joke is you always know what they're up to by what they accuse you of being. All right. So, what was another response? Oh, here's his apology. The horrible, twisted liar apologizes. Now, Ted Cruz called him a horrible, twisted liar, and that was beautiful. Bravo, Ted Cruz. Here's the horror, and this is what I wanted to highlight. This is what I get for reading something on Twitter without fact checking. Won't happen again. Okay, thank you. That was nice. However, he read it on something this heinous about a man who had our first public assassination since JFK without fact checking. His prejudice against Christians and conservatives was so deeply rooted in him that he didn't fact check. He admits he didn't fact check. It's like, obviously, that's true. I mean, give me the Salem witch trials over this shit. Actually, don't. That was bad. But this is just as judgmental and narrow-minded as, the most narrow-minded stuff from the 16th century. And things in the church, Inquisition, we can talk about that another day. But the difference is that was in the 16th century, 15th century. This is modern day. We don't do this shit anymore. They do. They are the modern day inquisitors, and it is scary. Without fact checking, he believed that. That is how bigoted this man is. Now, of course, apology accepted. Well, actually, it's not for me to accept the apology. It's more his wife and all that. However, this is exactly the kind of stuff like what he did that led to what happened to Charlie Kirk, that led to those children getting hurt, that led to our churches getting desecrated and pregnancy centers firebombed. Yeah, what are you doing to help the pro-life people? We're doing this. And what do? Well, not firebomb. What's the word? When you send a Molotov cocktail into something and blow it up. I use the word firebomb. Look up the statistics. Just on Catholic churches, it's been like 500, more than 500. And I mean, this makes the 1920s, if you know, when something that had 3 letters in it was active, look like a piece of cake. This is what leads to, the things that people do and say, like when Charlie Kirk and them would be there. I mean, we sat and watched this man being attacked, beaten up, mobbed. We've seen, Robert Shapiro. Not Robert Shapiro. Ben Shapiro. They try to call us the anti-Semites. It's like, no, hello. And though she's turned into the biggest jerk that's ever lived, frankly, we all saw the video of Charlie Kirk and her when they were at the restaurant and the people came and got him and all that. That's really scary stuff. Projection. The pot and the kettle. I don't trust the left at all. Projection, pure and simple. They probably believe it because a saying goes, they habitual liar being everyone else is lying. Yeah. Well, or you won't believe that someone would lie about something like that. But no problem. They're so consistent. Let them confess they're good at it. Yeah. When they tell you who you are, believe them. Yeah. But this is how it happens. This is how it happens. Something that also struck me in the midst of all this. How many people do you know that never even heard of him? Never even heard of him. I actually had a question put to me. Why are you all making such a fuss? I mean, he's not even a big deal or something. I think now everyone gets it. But that shows you maybe algorithm, how we are not sharing each other's ideas. Or someone pointed out, I think it's Tim Pool. Love him or hate him, he makes really good points, right? He said something to the effect of studies show that conservatives understand the left. and can articulate it. These are the movers and shakers in the left. This is what they say. This is what they believe. But the same is not true on the other side. So many people had never even heard of him. That tells you something. And maybe that's why they were so surprised on election day. The Nordporeal Life Forum, well, they tell you who they are, believe them. We read that. I believe Gina Carano said something about this sort of othering. Yeah, and then she got fired for it. Of course, the problem with the Gina Carano situation, of course, Disney could have fired her for that, and they can, okay? The problem with that, and the reason why her lawsuit turned out to be successful, settling is successful, is because they didn't do the same thing to Pedro Pascal. So if they had fired Pedro Pascal and fired Gina Carano, everyone might have been mad on their respective sides, but that would have been fair. It was the fact that it's a two-tier situation. Plato's echoed chamber. Rachel Perciart says, my brother stays away from politics. I'd explain who Charlie was. I'm not sure he gets it even now. Yeah. Well, and he was nice. I mean, he wasn't like some of the jackasses out there. Not that that would have made that any better, but still. This is where he also apologizes. Oh, somebody wrote him and said, no, he didn't. And it's exactly this kind of extreme rhetoric that encourages people to commit violence. Yeah, that's what I'm saying. I apologize. And he said, I never advocated. Yes, he never did. It's like they can't get through their heads that just because we believe a different way of living, that doesn't mean we want them to die. I mean, America was founded on a whole bunch of people with a whole bunch of different ideas, and we got along. Well, sort of. We had a civil war, but you know what? We sorted that out too, didn't we? Yeah. And the extreme rhetoric, the names. I know some people at the left that get shocked when, like, they called you an Nazi. It's like, yes. Like, what did you think of it? They think it's something that only happens to, like, people like Trump. Their worldview makes them literally incapable of understanding anyone who disagrees with them. Yeah, and you know what? That is actually the definition of bigotry. That's why I have no problem calling them bigots. That's what bigotry is. Unable to see another position other than your own. Sometimes people think I'm that way or I'm rigid, and they don't quite get. No, I can see a position other than my own, but I don't accept positions other than my own. There's a big difference. There's a big difference. All right. So this brings us into something else here. Cry bully. I put this together quite a while ago. Let's sing a little bit of this. I think Kimmel's a cry bully. A cry bully is someone who engages in intimidation, harassment, or other abusive behavior while also claiming to be a victim. Classic cry bully behavior that we've been seeing. And that's when we're saying we're not going to take it anymore, that's where we are. I see this very much like what happened after 9/11. Before 9/11, everyone's training, everyone's perception was if you get hijacked, you just cooperate, you don't cause any problems. But after what happened on 9/11 and starting with Flight 93, crap goes down, the people take you out. There have been many situations, even relatively recently, where passengers have kicked the living out of people and nothing's happened to them because it is absolutely appropriate to do that. Wasn't there one where the passengers actually tied the person up with seatbelts? Because we've learned cooperation leads to, well, what happened on 9/11. I think we're not going to tolerate this anymore. And there's a lot of that. Steve says, cry bully, a type of person one sees often on social media. Absolutely. And some people have said, oh, it's just on social media. You need to get away from social media. And I advocate for that. But you know what? If it bleeds into real life, because if it all stayed on social media, what happened on September 10th wouldn't have happened. They use, check this out, perceived righteousness as a pretext to abuse others, and then play the sufferer when confronted about the abuse they were dishing out. Lifeboat survival, don't rock the boat. Yeah, I think people aren't going to be afraid of that anymore. I just saw that the tour will be continuing with guest speakers. Though I think it'll look more like what we saw on Sunday with bulletproof glass and like a box around the people, which is perfectly appropriate. They used perceived righteousness as a pretext to abuse others and then play the sufferer when confronted about the abuse they were dishing out. I think I just said that. If you don't fight back, the cry bully bullies you. If you fight back, the cry bully cries and demands a safe space because you made him or her feel unsafe. Recognizing this, people? Are you recognizing it? Are you recognizing it? Because I sure as hell am. And yeah, I'm not going to take it anymore. Now, I have been working on balancing this because there's such a thing as righteous anger, and there is such a thing as becoming like the thing you hate. I think there was a good example of this when Erica Kirk forgave the dude, and you could tell it was practically killing her to do so, to say that she forgave the monster. And then afterwards, Trump was like, well, I know Erica's going to disagree with me, but I don't. I hate him. I hate our enemies. But I think he's working on it. For your own sake, for the sake of your own soul, you can't. So, yeah, I've been spending a little bit of extra time before the Blessed Sacrament, for example. Maybe an extra rosary or so. Sometimes I got out of the habit, down to some things. So, you got to balance it out. And do so according to your vocation. Obviously, I'm not called to go into these crazy campuses. I've never have been. Cardinal Burke. Yes, when I was talking to Cardinal Burke, if you know who he is, yes. The Apostolic Signatura under Benedict the 16th. He told me, he was like, I thought you told me that you were a music teacher, that you taught little children music. And I was like, yeah. And he said, well, that's what you're supposed to do. Teach them beauty. Teach them great music. He said, when you teach little children to love great music, and of course I've got methods and it's great and it's fun and it's awesome. He says, that's what you're supposed to do. Other people are called to be lawyers, fighters, and all that. But you do according to what you're supposed to do. And of course, we all have duties to our own family, etc. Let us see. Sucked in or time distorted? LOL. Well, Salty Traveling C is here. he's bringing in the Trump side of the story. No mercy, no F's giving, not tolerant cowards on our side. This is war. Get busy winning or get the F out of braver people's way. Yeah. I found my mother's rosary. They took it as a bit of side. Oh, cool. Yeah, the rosary's great. Charlie Pearl Harbor Kirk. Well, yeah. To be honest, the analogy that came into my mind was what happened at Harper's Ferry when John Brown did what he did. Because folks were like, hey, we can live and let live, but we can't tolerate nutcases coming in and trying to kill us. Remember the irony that the first person that John Brown killed was a freed man. Well done, you psycho. For me and my friends, says Richard Collar, calling anything for my enemies the most extreme application of the law. Yeah. Well, and everyone's got their own role to play in it. I know what my role is. And I thought it was a good way of Trump acknowledging, obviously, Erica Kirk has her role in it. He's got his role. But yeah, cry bullies. Gaslighting. I think in many ways, gaslighting, depending on the severity of the situation, can be a form of mental abuse. Ooh, the oppressor claiming to be the oppressed. Mm-hmm. knowledge. When you know what you're dealing with, when know what happens, like I was not in a good mental state to verbally spar, but at the end of the day, I'm not sure that the individuals with which I was speaking would have understood it either. I think that you could have, I don't know, people just putting my thought together here. Here we go. There are none so blind as those who refuse to see. We need a deterrent. Yes. Left are playing Herod in all this. Salty Traveling Sea says, "We forgive once this war is won. Should we choose people who admit their transgressions want to be forgiven, not before victory of those who have sabotaged our culture and acknowledges it." Yeah. Well, yeah, and I think we're on two different planes on it. Like I've had to forgive people for my own sake that I don't forget, and that doesn't mean I won't defend myself. Do you have a right to defend yourself? There is an absolute right to defend ourselves, and I think often our side confused that with being a doormat. Salty spits truth and common sense. Yes, we need a deterrent. Salty Crown C says we are on the precipice of losing everything, and people with cognitive differences want to play nice with evil. Yeah. Well, this is interesting. Are they? I don't think so. I don't think we're playing nice with evil. I've been seeing nothing but put on the armor of God. Jack Posobiec, yeah, he's a grifter. He's a performer, but man, he came out with his Soul Finder rosary, the one that Douglas Ernst, that's from his comic. And I don't know if you've seen those. Those things are intense. I have one of those, but I also have a little flower one. I don't think we're going to play nice. And even if you have forgiveness, that doesn't mean you're nice. Didn't Rand say something stupid again? Was it Rand Paul? Maybe. They were talking about this on the Lotus Eaters today, says Archer Collin. I love those guys. And it was a very interesting discussion, including some interpretation of Christian ideas of the best for someone. I think it was between that one guy with the longish hair and Sargon of Akkad. Yeah, that was a really good discussion. Salty Traveling Seeds. We can take power away from the aggressors and their control over their... Yeah. Oh, yeah. And there is justice. Absolutely, there's justice. Never play nice with people who want to harm you. Yeah. And you see, sometimes our side confuses niceness with doormattery. That you can be a warrior and still be righteous. Corporeal life form says forgiveness is only for your own sake. That is true. Reconciliation is a whole other thing. Yes, and justice is a whole other thing. And Erica Kirk said that. She says, yes, I've forgiven him, and it's up for the state to deal with him, when she was talking about him getting the death penalty. Stephen Ransom says, I believe in a binary of cheeks. I've already turned it twice. Miss Martin says Carl and Faraz, who is a Lebanese Christian. That's who it was. Faraz. Yeah, and he's a Maronite Catholic. If he's a Lebanese Christian, isn't he? Because he was talking about being a Catholic. Yeah, I love the Maronite rite. I've gone to Mass there. Well, they don't call it the Mass. I forget what they call it. But yeah, good times. Yes. Very good discussion. But you also have to fight smart. That's why I'm saying get some prudence, you dumbasses. Fight smart, not hard. I'm not talking to you. I was talking about certain people in the administration. Oh my gosh, what idiots. But the difference is we were willing to call out our idiots. All right. Cry bullies appear to mirror through their own actions what they are claiming in victimhood. They are narcissists who complain about selfishness, takers who shout out against greed, and bullies alleging to be victims. Hmm. Oh, wait, Steek says turning the other cheek is fine and well, but spreading. Actually, you are absolutely right. That is actually even maybe theologically correct, but my goodness, man. Well done, Steeg. Post it on Twitter. Let's see it. The other mother effer destroyed many lives with that one bullet. Yeah, absolutely. I mean, my gosh. But wow. Some things are happening. What did Tucker Carlson? He said the Holy Spirit's humming like a tuning fork. I use tuning forks, so if you've ever seen that, it's like, yeah, they hum. Stand tall, says Stephen Ransom, but go gently, legally, and openly. Exactly. Steve, I thought a wise man once said that I am a wise man. Yes, he is. He makes me bitter because he summed up in one sentence the entire Summa Theologica without having read it. Yeah. And we're going to get into some more wisdom in a second here. This is material that I had for several live streams, but I'm just shoving it all in because I'm going to be busy with life and I don't know when I'll get to do a live stream again. All right. Now, some people were saying to me, well, weren't you all complaining about the cancel culture? And now it's your side doing it. And I wish I'd had this ready to go, but I wasn't ready for a repartee in the sense of where I could have said what I'm saying now. Yes, we told you so. I cannot see a better example of why what they were doing to us was going to come and bite them in the ass. I'm sure I misquoted it. What did you misquote? And to be wise means to know nothing, present company included. Yes. Well, and that's part of it as well. No one knows everything. You have to be willing to learn, and you have to be willing to be corrected. So this is from A Man for All Seasons. Most of this was taken from real quotes, real letters from St. Thomas More. Yeah, thank you for tweeting it out, Steve. I will definitely get to that. Yeah, Man for All Seasons is probably one of the greatest movies ever made. If you haven't seen it, boy, is that made for our time. The premise was when Henry VIII was wanting to be made head of the Church of England and all sorts of law discussions and the whole idea of conscience and words and meaning and why we believe what we believe, etc. But this is talking about the law, and this applies to the people who were tearing down the law, if you will. Free speech. They were censoring all the stuff that happened in 2020 and after to go after people they disagreed with. And the whole, this isn't cancel culture. This is whatever culture, consequence culture. And a private company can do what they want. Actually, no, can't. But we'll say that later. But let's look at this quote from A Man for All Seasons. Yeah. Yep. That's where we are a little bit. Cancel culture and labeling are kind of crying wolf. Eventually, no one will care. Okay, so this is him and Will Roper. So you give the devil the benefit of law. And Thomas More goes, yes, what would you do? Cut a great road through the law to get after the devil. And William Roper said, yes, I'd cut down every law in England to do that. That's what they were doing. I'm not saying we were the devil, but this is a metaphor, of course. They were going through the law. We were doing bad stuff. You got to flatten the law, cut the law to get after the devil. And then Thomas More goes, oh, and when the last law was down and the devil turned round on you, where would you hide, Roper? The laws all being flat. We kept saying The reason why we have these protections is not for the speech you like, it's for the speech you hate. Because one of these days, the people whose speech you hate are going to be in power. And if you open up this Pandora's box, if you make this the precedent, boy, is it going to come back and bite you in the ass. Which is why I don't feel sorry for them. I might concede the point, but I don't feel sorry. No, I don't concede the point. That's the wrong word. I concede the point that we were right, warning them why they shouldn't have done what they did. This country is planted thick with laws from coast to coast. Man's laws, not God's. And if you cut them down and you're just the man to do it, do you really think you could stand upright in the winds that would blow then? Yes, I'd give the devil benefit of law for my own safety's sake. We told you so. Archer Collins says, Miss Martin Muses, interesting. Aforementioned Lotus Eaters did a discussion of Man for All Seasons. Haven't seen it yet, though. Dude, you have got to. One of the best movies ever, one of the best performances ever. Robert Shaw plays Henry VIII. He who knows not, but knows that he knows not is a wise man. Follow him. Yeah, wise words. Almost as wise as Mr. Steeg. Yeah. Oh, dear. Yeah. All right. What's another good one from A Man for All Seasons? These are lines for the play, but they pretty much did it in the movie. Oh, boy. This is when he's in the prison. If you know what happened to Thomas More, it didn't end well, but he still won. He's a martyr. If we lived in a state where virtue was profitable, common sense would make us good, and greed would make us saintly. And we'd live like animals or angels in the happy land that needs no heroes. But since, in fact, we see that avarice, anger, envy, pride, sloth, lust, and stupidity commonly profit far beyond humility, chastity, fortitude, justice, and thought, and have to choose to be human at all, why then perhaps we must stand fast a little, even at the risk of being heroes. Okay. Archer Collins says the discussion behind their paywall. Darn it. But sadly, they have put downloads of premium content up a tier. Son of a bitch. I saw Anne of a Thousand Days with Richard Burton as Henry VIII. I learned quite a bit as a kid. I need to see it, Archer Collins. Yeah, that's a good one, too. Of course, from a different perspective. Now, this is where he's talking to a guy who actually blows with the wind. He doesn't have principle. He doesn't stand firm. He says, Will, I'd trust you with my life, but not your principles. You see, we speak of being anchored to our principles. But if the weather turns nasty, you up with an anchor and let it down where there's less wind and the fishing's better. And look, we say, look, I'm anchored to my principles. Something to be thinking about. And this applies to you know what. Some men think the earth is round. Others think it flat. It is a matter capable of question. But if it is flat, will the king's command make it round? And if it is round, will the king's command flatten it? No, I will not sign. He's talking about the oath. They wanted him to say an oath that was not true. They wanted him to admit to something that wasn't true. You can put in the words I'm thinking of, the situation where, and take out the king and put in the law, bad law. Archer Collins says, Stephen's saying to Archer Collins, we may witness the birth of civilization, Smith civilization. That's another one. Yeah. Now, this is me in my life with a lot of us, most of us. And I think this is why the whole Charlie Kirk thing cut us so deeply and why the horrible reaction of these individuals has cut so deeply is because if they think this about Charlie, that means they think this about us. Not true. But, Stephen King just automatically was, oh, Christian, well, this is what they believe. Or even MAGA, this is what they believe. And if they say it was justified what happened to Charlie, that means it would be justified if they did it to you, to me. But this is a quote from St. Thomas More. I believe it was taken from a letter he wrote to his daughter in real life. I say none harm. I think none harm. Live and let live, if you will, from a certain point of view. But in general, this is how I believe it's applicable. I say none harm. I think none harm. And if this be not enough to keep a man alive, then in good faith I long not to live. Caveat, some people said, oh my gosh, does that mean he was of a certain disposition that rhymes with idle? No, it was a rhetorical thing. And that's the other thing. I am not saying that Charlie Kirk is even close to St. Thomas More. No. But how they take words out of context, or you take, in his case, a lawyer, an orator, a debater, a Christian humanist who was part of the humanism thing, where you sometimes play devil's advocate and all that, and you can take words but if you don't really look and understand the person, it doesn't make sense. Charlie Kirk was a debater. So when you're in a debate, you're going to say a lot of things. When you're in a podcast, you're going to say a lot of things. Gosh, imagine even just this, what I'm doing right now, this live stream. People could take things so out of context about what I'm saying. Let's see. Babylon 5:2, chilling. Oh, left is full of resentment. Yes, the resemblance to, from Babylon 5. Babylon 5 is fantastic. I was thinking that about a couple of recent elections. Yeah, I'll tell you what, Archer Colin, aren't we all brothers and sisters now? We stand with England in the UK, of course, but definitely the whole flag thing that y'all been doing. Lensman, they say, an animated adaptation of the 80s. Okay, I'm not sure. I'll actually be on the panel talking about this show next week, says Archer Collin. Late night for me as the stream starts at midnight. Okay, I'm sure Kirk Protestant is more like, yes. The books, nor prayer are a different world. Yes. All right. Do I have any other one from In Fall Season? Oh, this was from Man for All Season, I believe, pretty close to some sentiment that he had. But this is from the play Man for All Seasons. They used this in the Tudors as well. They did a very good job with Thomas More in the Tudors. I verily trust that though your lordships have now here in earth been judges to my condemnation, we may yet hereafter in heaven merrily all meet together to our everlasting salvation. So he wasn't malicious about it. And they kept saying all along, you're being malicious, you're being a jerk, you're being this because of your beliefs. You're being anti-British, anti-English. You're being treasonous for what you're doing. And they accused him of malice. And he's like, no. It's like, you guys, even though you guys are just sentenced me to death, I hope that we may merrily meet together in heaven. And the prayer that he has for pray for one's enemies, I pray that one a lot. It's a hard one to pray, where it talks about, pray for your enemies and look at their faults, my faults, and make us saved souls together. That's a hard one. But ultimately, isn't that what we want? Well, if you're a Christian. I know people think we're suckers for it, and maybe we are. Yeah, okay, see, this is where I got confused. I wasn't quite sure what you were talking about. The E. Doc Smith Lensman series, the author of practically invented space opera. Well, that's pretty cool. Just something I don't know. So that's what they're talking about here. Look up the first. Oh, yeah. All right. The summary is chilling. Okay, I'll look up the summary because yeah, I can't handle anything but Wheel of Time right now. Oh, what to do about it? Well, we can't do anything about it. Is there anything else I have on here? Is it okay? Oh yeah. And then we have the 10 Commandments. Those are my notes from the 10 Commandments. Let me stop sharing. Can I find myself here? Here we go. Yay! So, when they lie and why it matters. Everything I said in the above. I hope maybe you can take nuggets here and there, maybe help you understand, maybe help you understand what you are doing, what you are seeing. My personal opinion is it's ultimately a waste of time to try to argue with anybody, especially online. Like the stuff that Charlie did, I couldn't do. I was not made to do that. Also, it was performative. Some of it was. We all know that. When people say he's a saint, well, some people, the way I see it, it's because of what I said earlier about he was martyred or assassinated right after he professed his faith in Jesus. Technically, that makes you a martyr. But yeah, there's some other stuff to work out. There's some stuff to work out. Because, well, not even saints acted like saints. Okay, the entire Lemonsman series is probably shorter than 2 Wheel of Time books, probably. Yes. I just need to read it after Wheel of Time. Yeah, I'm still gonna get it done. I think I'm gonna get the Wheel of Time book done maybe tomorrow. I'm hoping so. And then I'll be done with the Robert Jordan ones. It's gonna be so sad. It's gonna be so sad. Because even though we know it's the ending that Robert Jordan wrote, it's not going to be the same. I'm not expecting it to be the same. Oh, yeah. Another series like to be done with a competent showrunner. Yeah, my gosh. My goodness. Well, glad y'all are talking anime. I'm perfectly fine with that because I like it when people come and hang out in my chat. I just can't. I'm not joining in not because I'm being an a-hole, but I have no idea what you guys are talking about. But if you haven't seen Man for All Seasons, I think that you will benefit from it, and maybe read some of the great philosophers. When Trump was at the state dinner in England and he talked about like our shared literature, our shared people. First of all, he said Tolkien, yay, we love Tolkien, and, and he talked about Locke and all the great philosophers that we share with England. And in many ways, a lot of what makes America great had its seed there. Yeah, we had a divorce, but I think it's very interesting how there are those of us who feel more connected. I feel more kinship with a lot of British people right now than I do with many Americans. Alrighty. Well, I need to wrap up this party. Been going for a little more than an hour. Might be here, might not be. I wish I could have a schedule, but that's just impossible with both my work schedule and as well as my caregiving schedule, as well as natural. Well, I do not want to jinx myself about any more disasters. I am not in the mood for anything, but I've got stuff going on. And if you are of the praying type, please pray for my family and my friends. We've had a really, 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 really rough month. Big time. Oh, dear. Alrighty. Well, I'm going to end this party. I want to say thank you to everybody that showed up. Who did we have? Whoops, I lost my chat. Dag nabbit. Let me find it. Are you still there? Oh, I lost you. All right. If I can't get all the names, don't hate me. We have Nordporeal Lifeform, Steve Kenobi. Oh, wait, I found you. That was from memory. Rachel Percy Art, Archer Collins, Stephen Ransom, Salty Traveling Sea. There were many people lurking. Hello, yay, thank you for being here. One time we had as many as 17 in the chat. That's fantastic. I appreciate you all so much. If you'd give me a like, share, and a subscribe early and often. And I won't beg for super chats because, those never hurt either. Spread the word. And I also have a new channel. I have moved my Catholic material over to its own channel. The Catholic Explaining series became a channel. How many subs do I have? Oh, I lost a sub. You sons of bitches. Oh, wait, that's not very Catholic of me or Christian. But anyways, yeah, I have 282 subs. Apparently someone didn't like the 10 Commandments because that was my thing today where I listed them. So, Catholic Explaining here, let me put the link in the chat. If you would please give that a subscribe if you would like. Night all. Good night, everyone. Nordporeal, as in the North. Oh, wait, did I pronounce it like Nord? Yes, you are the Nord. Nerdporeal. That's a Nord. I did, didn't I? Teresa always calls me that. Oh my gosh, Nordporeal. You're right. Instead of Nerdporeal, Jeannie Mac. Thank you. Well, now that I know, okay. Oh gosh, shameless begging. Oh, damn it. Okay, you know what? I'll take it. Here. Thank you. Wait for it. Thank you, the Nerdporeal Lifeform, for $5. Thank you. Like, share, and subscribe early and often. And for this, you, sir, get a rose. And there's, whoops. Can I do the one? There we go. That's the one that Salty Traveling Sea made for me. Jeannie Mac. Thank you. Ha 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 ha. Now I'm almost feeling guilty for being a beggar. But you know what? I've had a shit week. Month. Decade. This is the crappiest decade ever. Remember when we all were like, it's going to be the roaring 20s. We're going to have fun. And then, yeah, it hasn't been. So anyways, have a great day, everyone. Have a great day. And be certain to be the king's good servant, but God's first. I can't find it. Was another Man for All Seasons quote to fill up the silence. Nevertheless, it is not for the supremacy that my blood was sought, but I would not bend to the marriage. Have a good one.